What's going on? Welcome back. In today's video, we're going to go over CC pen testing, or a crash course on various topics in penetration testing. This room, or this amazing room, is about teaching you the basics of penetration testing tools. It's not about teaching the concepts as much as teaching the tools that you might use or that you will use in your pen testing day-to-day activities. So basically, it will start or starts with Nmap, Netcat, GoBuster, Nikto, and then it goes to Metasploit, as you can see, Meterpreter shells, and we have here hashcats and the use of hashes, John the Ripper, SQL map, applicable scenarios on SQL map, SMB map, and of course some notes about Impacket and privilege escalation. So basically, I'm going to be splitting these tasks over. I'm going to try to condense them into 2 or 3 videos, so we can complete them all. Without leaving anything missing. So basically, I would start, or in this video, I'm going to start with Nmap, Netcat, GoBuster, and Nikto. So you would finish the first 5 tasks. The next video, we're going to cover Metasploit, Meterpreter, all the way till cracking passwords or John the Ripper. Okay. So in each task, we will use the tool. We will get familiar with the basic syntaxes of every tool and answer some questions. For that, we need to deploy the machine for the first task, or for this introduction. Okay, tick completed, and we have Nmap. For Nmap, just deploy the machine, and you will have to scan the machine with Nmap. And you have some questions to answer whenever you finish a task, or whenever you finish scanning the target with an Nmap switch, you would answer the question according to what you have done. So basically, I will drag this here, okay, and start scanning. So before we start scanning, we will have to first determine the target. So we have this target, right? We're going to scan this target and see what we're going to do. So basically, first type sudo nmap, right, and scan the target. So according to the questions here, it is asking how do you specify which port to scan, how do you ping a scan, or how do you do a ping scan, what is the flag for UDP scan, how do you run default scripts. We're going to go over each one of them, right, after scanning the target. Okay. So basically, how do you specify ports to scan? For example, we type -p and specify the ports we're willing to scan. For example, if you are interested, or of our scope in pen testing only to cover the web server, okay, we would only scan the web server port, which is 80. Okay, and we hit enter. As you can see, the nmap scan has finished, and we have info about whether the port is open or closed. Here we have the port 80 is open. That's the state of the port. Now, suppose that we want to know if the target is live or not. So in order to do that, we would perform ping scan. The ping scan, instead of -p80, we would type -sn. -sn will perform ping the target, right? And typically it sends ICMP request, right? And waits for a reply from the host or the remote host. So if it is live, it's going to say host is up. Okay. Now, how do you perform UDP scan? That's one of the most asked questions. We would need to understand how UDP scans work, because sometimes when you scan TCP ports, if you scan -sv, right, you will scan the TCP ports. If you specify -u, you would scan the UDP ports. Sometimes ports scanned, or TCP ports, right, would show open, but sometimes you would specify the -su to also include the UDP scans. So we'll enter and we'll see the UDP ports. Okay, let's see the questions here. So what does Nmap stand for? Believe me, sometimes people don't know the answer for this, which is really normal. So Nmap stands for Network Mapper. How to specify which port to scan? -p. How do you do a ping scan? -sn. What is the flag for UDP scan? -su. How do you run default scripts? How do you enable aggressive mode? What flag enables OS detection? How do you get the versions of the services running on the target? Deploy the machine, how many ports are open? Okay, right. So let's do that in an unpredictable way. So basically here it's asking to answer each question separately. We're going to do an nmap scan covering all of these switches and take the results, answer the questions one at a time. So here, as you can see, we have to use the scripting engine, aggressive mode, OS detection, and finding out the versions, how many ports are open, what services are running on the machine, what is the version, what is the output of the HTTP title script, including the default script. Right, so let's get back. And the UDP scan has not finished. Let's split the view here. Okay, so here I would type sudo nmap, right? And then I specify if I want to scan the services and the versions, I would type -sv. And I want to enable aggressive scan so I can enable host scripting results. OS scan all of the details I want. I want to an aggressive scan, I would type -a, the switch -a. And if you want to enable OS detection, you would type -o. Enable nmap scripting engine, you would type -ss/sc, right? So because we are using aggressive scan, we're going to omit the -o here because the OS detection is included in the aggressive scan. And then we would specify the target, 10.10.131.74. Let's get back. So how do you run default scripts -sc? How do you enable aggressive mode? Enables OS detection, version detection, script scanning, and trace route. So -a. What flag enables OS? -o. How do you get the versions of the services running on the target machine? -sv. Deploy. How many ports? Now we have to get back and see the results. Okay, let's narrow this down a bit. All right, let's get up. As you can see, we have only one open port. Okay, and the port is open. The service is HTTP, and the version is 2418. The software is Apache HTTPD. Okay, let's see the OS detection. So if it asks about that, so how many ports are open? We have one open port. What service is running on the machine? Let's see. So it is HTTP. The answer is incorrect. Apache, right? I just confused that with the protocol. If the required answer was HTTP, then it would say what protocol is running on the machine or what open port is running on the machine. Now, what is the version of the service? Let's check it out. 2418. What is the output of the HTTP title script included in the default scripts? Let's see here the title. As you can see here, these results, okay, these details, you would get these details when you use the -sc, right? So here the title is Apache 2, you point to default page, it works. That's the HTTP title, right? So take that, get back, and answer it. So that's for nmap. I know it is very brief. There is no requirement. There is no holistic coverage on the nmap how to use that. But I have done unpublished videos on how to use nmap, how to use stealth scan, and how to evade firewalls. I'm going to put this video or these videos exactly in the video comments. Make sure to check them out. Now head over to Netcat. So Netcat, here we have some introduction, and we have the answers to the questions to answer. So these questions, in order to answer them, we have to use the tool practically. So let's see here, Netcat aka NC. After you connect to a port with NC, you will be able to send data. This also has the consequence of the user being able to pipe data through NC, for example. How can we know that? Okay, let's get back here. See how you can interact with the host with Netcat. So let's clear or clear this one. I'm going to keep the nmap here, so you may need it. And in a separate view, let me expand this or make it bigger. Okay. So here we will use Netcat. So Netcat start with nc-h for help. You can see all of the basic options, switches to use with Netcat. Now, in order to connect to a target with Netcat, I would type nc, okay, and the name of the target or the IP. In my case, it is here, and a port. So since we know from the nmap scan that the port 80 is open, I would type specify that port, which is 80. Now here I'm gonna connect. I'm gonna be able to connect here, as you can see. Let's check it out. So that's the result of the connection, regardless of it is successful or not successful, bad request, not bad request. We were able to connect, right? And here is saying Apache 2418 server running at localhost at port 80. Your browser sent a request that this server couldn't understand. Now, technically, you wouldn't connect to a web server with Netcat this way, right? We'll do it with the browser or curl, but this is only an illustration. Now, let's see the questions here. So how do you listen for connections? So basically, you know from the scenarios I do on the walkthroughs of Hack the Box and Vulnerable Hub, TryHackMe, when we create a payload, right? We send this payload to the remote host, and in order to catch the connection back, we would type nc-lpp 4545, for example. This way, we listen for the incoming connections. Now, you don't need to type v because v is for verbose, right? It would allow us to see who is connecting to us, right? Who's connecting back? What's the host? Now, P, here we specify the port, and L, we specify that we are listening. Let's see here the questions. So how do you listen for connections? Switch-L. How do you enable verbose mode? Allows you to see who connected to you, -V. How to specify a port to listen, -P. So technically, guys, my way of using Netcat is -LVP. Definitely, we can use dash. You can use it this way: nc-l, right? Listening, and you can enable or specify the port P 4545. It also works. But as you can see, because verbosity is not enabled, I can't see this. I can't see an actual output or display of what's happening in real time. Now, let's get back here. Now, here the question is how to specify which program to execute after you connect to a host, one of the most famous commands. So basically, what does this mean? Okay. How do I explain this? Well, okay. So basically, right, if I have a machine listening on port LVP 4545, okay? Now, on the other hand, I'm going to connect to myself just for the illustration. I want to connect here to myself. I would say nc 27001, and the open port or the port that is open for listening is 4545. And the question is asking how to specify a program to execute after the connection is successful. So I would type -e, okay, and specify what I want to run. Okay, so here it's gonna do what's gonna do. It's gonna connect to the target and execute a command. Okay, most cases this command is to spawn bash shell. It could be something else. For example, I would type who am I? Oh, we need to specify the whole path of this. So let's type which, who am I? And here we'd say -e, user bin to an I. Let's run the listener one more time. So you see the command has been executed. معتصم. So let's get back and answer the question. Dash E. Right. Now, how do you connect to UDP ports? So basically, you know that when you want to listen for incoming connections on UDP ports, you would specify dash LVP, and here is the UDP port. Let's say it is 446, permission denied, fine. 243432. And here, if I want to connect to LDP port, I would say dash U3423. So here, the answer is dash U. That's for Netcat, the very basic you need to know in order to conduct some pen testing. But, and clear here, let's see how we can transfer files using Netcat, which is something not covered in the room, but you will need that frequently during your pen testing engagement. Sometimes you don't have other tools to transfer files from your target host to your machine, so you would need Netcat. So basically, let's say I am in, so here we are in desktop, and here we are in the home directory. So basically, ls, I will transfer this file, okay, from the current working directory, which is the home directory, to the desktop using Netcat. I know I'm connecting to myself, but we can use that in any scenario. So basically, on the listening end here, I would say nc-lvp 4545 and put here the output file, which is, for example, nc test.txt. Here, I'm saying when you receive the connection, right, make the output to be, or send the output to a file. Why I did this? Because I know that the incoming connection will be in the form of file transfer. So I would say the output will be in a file. Now on the end where you are establishing the connection, you would type nc and specify a target, which is my name. In my case, it is localhost 4555. And here, put this arrow and the name of the file that you would like to send, which is like that. Now here, the file, as you can see, once you establish the connection, your file will be sent to the connection using this arrow. Let's enter here and enter here. Let's see. Okay, end the connection. As you can see, the file has been transferred now to my desktop. Okay, now that's for Netcat. I hope this is helpful. Let's now skip or go to directory buster. Now we need to deploy another machine. Let's terminate this one and deploy the one with GoBuster. Alright, so we have a couple of questions to answer here before we get to the practical scenario. So in the practical scenario, we're required to find the hidden directory. Okay, now what is the name of the hidden file with the extension XXA? So we're required here to perform GoBuster scan or directory scan to find hidden directory, and we're required as well to perform directory search on file extension that goes by XXA. For doing that, there are some basics you need to understand, right, before you get to answer these questions about the practical scenario. Now, let's now start with these questions. Now, before starting with these questions, let's head to my machine and close this one. Clear. We have GoBuster, right? The GoBuster, right? Dash H displays all of the available switches and options to use with GoBuster. So we have the flags and the available commands. DR for directory, brute forcing, DNS for DNS brute forcing, help, vhost for vhost brute forcing one. Most commonly, you will use directory search, this switch, right? And these are the flags. Now, let's do a basic scan, and from this scan, all right, we will answer all of the questions. So we will start with sudo go buster. Okay, to perform directory search on hidden directories, you will type dir. Okay. Now, if there is an extension required, or you know that some of the website files are based on some extensions, you would specify the extension with the switch -x. Okay, it could be PHP, it could be Perl, it could be HTML, whatever. Okay, actually HTML is the basic. It could be PHP, Python, CGI bin, you name it. So basically, we type -x and the extension. The extension in my case, or in the room case, is XXA. Okay. Now, next thing we would specify the word list use. So we type -u and the word list that we can use, which is user share word list. Medium directory. All right. Or let's use another one. So here I would type dirb count. All right. Now that's the required command to find or answer the questions in the practical scenario. Now, what other switches you may need in your pen testing engagement? I would practically say if the website has SSL, which most of the real case scenarios are, they have SSL on their website. So how do you skip the SSL verification? You would type, let's skip this one like that, or right. Okay, leave it like that. So -k, we skip the SSL verification. Okay. Now, if there is a required user agent you would want to use, you would say -a, and here specify the user agent. So we would see a list of the user agents we can use. For example, let's see here, open Chrome. So user agents list. Let's use GitHub for that. Let's see here. So sometimes in the pen testing engagements, we're required to use specific user agents. So here are the list of user agents. You just take one of them and put it in the switch. All these are Mozilla 5, Macintosh, Windows. This is for 2020, right? Okay. So let's use you can use any one of them, but in this scenario, we're not going to use any one of them, right? Because it's not required. But you just get one and put it here in the dash A here. So we omit this one. I'm going to omit that and omit the dash K and see here what we can get. You are not required. Oh, we forgot the most important parameter, which is specifying the URL. So here, dash U and the target. In our case, the target is all right. Let's answer the questions while this finishes. How to specify directory file brute forcing mode, dir. How do you specify DNS brute forcing? You can find the answers from the help menu. What flag sets extensions to be used? Dash X. What flag sets word list to be used? Dash W. Okay, how do you set the username for basic authentication if the directory requires username and password? So you know that when sometimes you would access a link like that and it will display here login interface where you're required to enter username and password, right? For password protected pages or pages that use basic HTTP authentication. You can research that, but sometimes you will be required, or you would be required to supply username and password. So for username, you would type -u, and for the password, you type -p. How do you set which status codes GoBuster will interpret as valid? Okay, so as you can see here, we have status codes, right? Every status code GoBuster interprets differently. So if you want to consider something as valid, although maybe it will be not or it is not, we will type -s and specify the request. How do you skip SSL certificate? We discussed this, -k. How do you specify user agent? We did that with -a. How do you specify a HTTP header? Well, -h. What flag sets the URL to brute force? -u. Meaning that what is the switch to set the target? Deploy. What's the name of the hidden directory? The hidden directory is, so according to the status codes, it is secret, right? Let's try to access that. Up. And it is valid. So it is secret. What is the name of the hidden file with the extension XXA? Let's get back with the scan, and you can see there is a file with the extension XXA. Let's try to access this file. Yeah, it is valid. So let's answer with that. With that. Oh, wrong. Maybe we need to omit the extension. All right, that's for GoBuster. Now the last one for this video will be Nikto, which is the basic web server scanner. Again, but there is no deploy machine here. So I guess we're going to work on the same one which we used for GoBuster. So here Necto is a popular web scanning tool that allows users to find common vulnerabilities. It's commonly used for or to check for common CVEs such as shell shock and to get general info about the web server that you are enumerating. Let's answer the questions using a practical command. Keep this open. So from here, sudo Necto. The first thing we would need is to specify the target, which is that we do that with -h and put the URL. Now again, sometimes you would be required to scan websites, right, that use SSL certificates. So these websites start with HTTPS instead of HTTP. If your pentesting engagement requires you to disable or to skip the HTTPS, then you would type here or here -nil self. In our case, there is no SSL, but if the website doesn't have SSL installed, you don't need to specify this, okay? Right? You would need the no SSL or the SSL if you have a website that has SSL installed and you either want to skip that or enforce it. To skip that, you would type no SSL. To enforce it, you would type SSL. Now, before starting the scan, okay, we would need to understand what are the Nikto plugins. So basically, I would type Nikto --list. Plugins are supplementary tools for Nikto to enhance its functionality. So plugins. Here we have the plugins. Every plugin has its own function that you would incorporate for your scenario. So basically here we can see every plugin, the name and the description of the plugin, right? For example, we have here directory traversal, which is a plugin for checking applications servers for directory traversal vulnerabilities. So as said, after understanding the scenario you are using or you are dealing with, so you would adjust your plugin usage accordingly. So for this scenario, we're just going to get back to the command Nikto. Seems like I need to write this again. Okay, sudo Nikto -h. Let's use one. Well, let's get back and see the practical scenario, what's required from us. How to update plugins, how do this, no, there is no, okay, let's do it on our own. So here, if I want to do a specific plugin, I would type -plugins and the name of the plugin. So I look through these and let me select, I don't know, let's select something popular, which is directory traversal. Let's see if the website is actually vulnerable to directory traversal. Of course, the results you get from Nikto are not necessarily holistic or comprehensive, or don't necessarily cover every single vulnerability in the website. It could be false positive, it could be false negative. So you would need to use Nikto not only as the only tool in your engagement, but as a supplementary tool. You would rely on multiple tools, which is very recommended, just to compare the results and adjust your criteria. Let's enter. So what do we have here? Unknown options. Plugin. So here plugin, I guess. Again. List of plugins to run. Okay, so here S plus, this time it is the uppercase. Again, it's wrong. I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. Plugins. Okay, so this worked. So it was without the plus and uppercase P. All right, let's see the questions. How do you specify which host to scan or to use -H? What flag
This
enables SSL-no SSL? How do you force SSL-SSL? How do you specify authentication username password? So basically, this one I think I need to remember the command. So nicto-h. Host authentication to use. Format is ID pass or ID pass realm. As said earlier, if there is a page on the web server that requires authentication, you would need to type this option -ID and then username and password with this formula. Let's get back and type -ID. How do you select which plugin to use? -plugin s. Which plugin checks if you can enumerate Apache users? Let's get back and list the plugins. So nicto -list -plugin. Or do that. Grep Apache. So the plugin name is Apache users. All right. How do you update the plugin list? Easy, update. How do you list all the possible plugins to use? We use that -ls list -plugins. All right, this is finished. Let me check the results. I'm curious to understand and know what our. Okay, so here, as you can see, this is the result of the Nicto scan we have performed, and there is no clues about the existence of directory traversal. So there is no directory traversal. Technically, there is nothing on the web server, right? Only 2 pages. All right. So that is for the first part of the pen testing crash course. In the next part, we will cover Metasploit and hash cracking. Right. Okay. Done.